Hello guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is doing great. So in today's video, I want to talk about clean fragrances, musky / aldehydic fragrances. And I know this time of year, we would probably be talking about warm fragrances and fragrances for the fall, and we will get to those videos. But because I tried some fairly new releases, one from the house of Van Cleef and Arpels and one from the house of Byredo, which are clean, musky, aldehydic fragrances. And then I own another two that I thought would be perfect in this conversation. I thought that I would create a video and talk about 4 fragrances. And I have others that are musky and aldehydic, but today we're talking about these 4. And we'll start with the house of Byredo. So I used to own a few fragrances from Byredo and I ended up selling them. I had Flowerhead, I had Gypsy Water, and then at one point I had Bibliothèque, which I thought was too sweet, and I don't have those in my collection any longer. And then at one point when I was shopping on FragranceNet, I love to take advantage of their travel size decants. It's a really great way to inexpensively try fragrances. So for about $25, I was able to get a travel size of Blanche by Byredo. I was curious about it. And the other one is Bal de Frique, which I want a full bottle of and still haven't added to my collection. It's basically a vetiver fragrance, and I enjoy vetiver fragrances, so I will add that to my collection soon. And when I tried Blanche, I was pleasantly surprised. It was nice. And then when I walked into a perfume boutique here locally, they had Byredo fragrances. I didn't realize that the house released some flankers. And they released flankers for Bal de Frique, for Blanche, and also Mojave Ghost, which I'm not too familiar with. I was focused more on Blanche and Bal de Frique. And when I sprayed the flanker, which is basically a stronger concentration of the original fragrances, so instead of being an eau de parfum, it's an Absolue de parfum. So when I sprayed Blanche, I really enjoyed it. And then this popped up on a discounter. These are quite expensive, and on the discounter it certainly wasn't cheap, but I took advantage and purchased the 100 ml size bottle. And so here we have Blanche, the Absolue de parfum. And I do enjoy this. We're going to spray and talk about what it smells like. I was able to compare it to the original Blanche, and I would say that although it's the same scent profile, generally speaking, this one seems to have a little bit more complexity, and it seems to be a bit stronger in terms of not being as transparent and translucent as the original Blanche. But I feel like overall this fragrance, like a lot of new releases out there, are in that realm of aldehydic, musky, laundry-like, laundry detergent-like clean fragrances. And I have an appreciation for that scent profile. It depends how it's done. So let's spray this one and talk first about what this one smells like. So this one on strip is even more sterile and white than it is on skin. I feel like on skin, and I do have it on my right hand, I sprayed it about an hour ago. I feel like on skin it is a little bit warmer and has a little bit more complexity to it, but on the blotter it's definitely very, very almost sterile white. Very, very stark. It's a fragrance that really evokes the color white and something very starchy, like a crisp white cotton button down, like crisp cotton clean sheets, very, very crisp. And there definitely is something translucent, transparent about it. It's definitely aldehydic in the opening. You have to like aldehydic fragrances, although this one is not as aldehydic as, for instance, Frederic Malle's collaboration with Acne Studios. That one is the most aldehydic of these 4 fragrances. Now there is this peony violet rose combination going on in here, but it's very, very soft. It's very, very powdery. It's sort of an undercurrent to the fragrance. It doesn't take over. It doesn't come to the forefront. It does get a little creamy after that super aldehydic opening. So I do sense something creamy about the fragrance, but on skin, and I've worn this many times as my scent of the day, on skin at the end of the day, it's a laundry, musky, clean fragrance with an aldehydic opening and soft, powdery nuances in the backdrop. Now, the musk in here has a slight tinge of something animalic, but it's a fake animalic. It's an animalic that's going to be very, very mass appealing. Byredo fragrances, I think for the most part, although I have heard of some strange fragrances by Byredo, I would say that most of them are very light wearing and crowd pleasing fragrances. Although they do have that line with the ambery color fragrances, Vanille Antique. That one was sort of ambery, vanillic. I did try that once in passing. That one is nice. But a lot of them, well, the ones that I remember at least, the Mojave Ghost and Bal de Frique and Blanche, they're sort of light wearing, transparent, translucent type fragrances, which again, I do like sometimes. So yes, there is something hinting at something slightly animalic musky, but again, it's absolutely a sort of fake component to the musk. This is definitely not like something similar to Parfum d'Empire Musk Tonkin. That one has a little bit of an animalic edge to it. But overall, this is nice. This is a 100 ml size bottle. The juice is quite white. The packaging is very, very impressive. The magnetic caps, I'm loving. High quality. I really like the way the atomizer is a different color. It's gold against the neck, which is silver. So they definitely do a nice job in terms of packaging. I can't remember what the 100 ml size bottle goes for. I did get this at a discounter and it was still $200. I think with shipping it was $215. And I'm not sure how much cheaper that is, but nevertheless, for what it is, it's still quite expensive. I'm not sure that I would say that it's worth the retail price, I have to be honest. It's a nice fragrance. This one actually has similarities to Le Labo's Aldehyde 44. I still have the sample, and I sprayed this here on my left hand. I like Aldehyde 44 more, and the reason is I think that I'm enjoying the Narcissus note in Aldehyde 44, and the Narcissus I think has a floral animalic component to it, and it seems like the animalic component to this aldehydic musky fragrance, as opposed to the Blanche Absolue Parfum, I feel comes off a little bit more realistic. Even though all of these animalics are synthetic, to me in Aldehyde 44, it comes off a little bit more realistic, while in Blanche, I feel like it's a little bit more mass appealing. So even though I do have a full bottle of this, I prefer Aldehyde 44, which I do have a full bottle of, but I grabbed the remainder of the tester just to use it up, and I still think I have some left here. So the next one, which is also a musky fragrance, but it's different from Blanche, is from the house of Van Cleef and Arpels, and this is Musc de Soie. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. So this was a 2024 release, and by the way, the Byredo's Blanche Flanker is a 2025 release. The Van Cleef and Arpels is a relatively new release as well from 2024. And I do have Bois de Riz by this house. I mention it all the time. I love that fragrance. And this one, even though it's also a clean, musky fragrance, it's not as stark and crisp as Blanche. And it doesn't come off as white and sterile as Blanche. So let's spray this one and we'll talk about what it smells like. So this one I was unfamiliar with, and I ordered it from Joma Shop. So I did not pay the full retail price for this fragrance. I'm not sure what the retail price is. This one on Joma Shop was about $150 with tax and when all is said and done. And this one is much more fluffy. It's a clean musk, but it's fluffy. It's cloud-like. It has a little bit of substance to it. It's not as translucent and transparent as Blanche. It does open aldehydic, and there's a neroli at the top, but the neroli is adding just a little bit of freshness together with the aldehydes. It's not really noticeable. I would not be able to pick it out as a neroli note in the fragrance. Overall, it opens as a musky, fluffy, powdery, aldehydic, clean fragrance that has just a hint of something powdery from the iris. And it's definitely bright, but it's not translucent and transparent. So there's substance to this fragrance. There's cashmeran that comes into play almost immediately, and it plays a major role in here. It gets a little creamy. It comes off like a clean body cream. And at the end of the day, this one is like a baby powder, clean, musky fragrance. It's powdery and it's like baby powder in a bottle. And so it's not as crisp white as something like Blanche. Much, much more creamy. There's a little bit of sweetness. It comes along, I think, with the cashmeran in here. It's nice if you like the idea of fragrances that are baby powder-like. If you like that clean scent profile that has some fluffiness. Like I recently mentioned in one of my videos, Les Innombrables Musc Sable. That one is an irisy fragrance that has a fluffiness to it. It's a musky, fluffy fragrance. And it also goes into that sort of baby powder direction. And there's some substance to it. This one does something similar. Not that this smells like Musc Sable. That one has a sort of salty component to it that I love. This one doesn't have that. This one has something a little more creamy about it. Something a little bit warmer that comes along with the benzoin. There's benzoin in here at the base. So if you like the idea of clean and fluffy and baby powder-like, then you should give this one a try. The performance is great, by the way. This was on my skin for the entirety of the day. I would say a good 7 hours, while Blanche, I would say, becomes a skin scent after about 3 hours. So I think if you purchase Blanche thinking that the Absolue de Parfum is giving you a great deal of longevity, I would say test it out, because on me, it becomes closer to the skin after 3 hours, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. But I'm just saying, in case you're thinking that it's going to be a very long-lasting fragrance because it's an Absolue de Parfum, it may not be. So just test that one out. But this is really nice. It's enjoyable. It's a nice release from the house if you like that sort of thing. The next one is from the house of Ella K, and this one is Musk K. Now, this one was never on my radar, although I have to admit, I have seen this hyped on YouTube time and time again. And then I took note of exactly which channels are hyping this fragrance, and I came to the conclusion that they were getting free bottles and talking about Musk K. Although some of the comments to my videos have mentioned this fragrance as well. So when I saw this at a discounter, and I think this retails for about $250, I'm not sure. I would have to check on that, don't quote me on that. But when it popped up on a discounter, I took advantage of the slightly discounted price and I purchased a bottle. I thought that it would be easy to sell if I didn't like it. I ended up liking the fragrance in the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray this. I will spray this on skin. The atomizer on this one is quite nice. Actually, I like how it disperses the fragrance in a fine mist. So I find this fragrance really, really interesting. There's something very interesting that I detect in here, and I'm not sure if you guys out there who are familiar with this will agree. But I would say that this opens as a white, musky fragrance in the realm of Blanche, but not as stark and as white and translucent and not as crisp, I should say. There is orris butter in here, so while it opens as a clean, musky, laundry clean type of fragrance, I do get the orris butter, and I love orris butter in fragrances. So that is adding something to the opening along with the peppery notes. I think there's black pepper and pink pepper in here, but the peppery nuances aren't too prominent. What you get is a laundry, clean, musky fragrance. But what I do like, as this dries down to my nose, and it might be coming from the woody notes in here, but if I did not check the note listing for the fragrance, it was coming off to my nose the first time that I wore this as the remnants of like cigarette smoke in clothing, or maybe the ashes left behind that have sort of like an ashy, slightly leftover cigarette smoke type of smell to it, if that makes sense. Something similar, but maybe not as prominent or as much as Dusita's, is it Erewhon, the green fragrance? I think that one has that sort of aspect that Celine's nightclubbing has as well. Here, it could be coming from the woody components, together with the musk, together with the orris butter, together with the pepper. I'm not sure. That's how I'm interpreting the fragrance, and I found that very, very unique, and I was pleasantly surprised and thought, I like this more than Blanche. I think I do like Musk K a little bit more than Blanche. It's definitely more linear. Blanche definitely has some other components in it from the florals, and it seems like it has more layers to it. This one definitely feels more linear, and the way this one wears on skin, it's a little bit dustier, maybe a little bit more simplistic. And overall, it is clean and it's musky, and it does conjure up the clean laundry, sort of white cotton, fluffy towel image. It does. It's just not as crisp as Blanche. So I wore this as my scent of the day a few times to work, and true story, I never really get too many compliments on my fragrances, and no one really ever comments on what I'm wearing. I try to keep it mild for work. I don't do anything that's over the top. And I walked to the copy machine, and one of my coworkers stopped and said, "Something smells so clean. I'm smelling something very, very clean in the air, really nice and clean." And then he said, like clean laundry detergent, something very nice and clean. And I told him that it was my fragrance, and I was a little bit embarrassed. I wasn't sure if I was trailing along this fragrance through the halls of my workplace. And he complimented and said that it smelled very, very nice. So I guess I got a compliment on Musk K by Ella K. Yes, so it's a clean, musky, laundry-like fragrance, but there's something interesting with what to my nose smells like slightly, just a little bit, a hint of cigarette smoke left behind in clothing. I'm not sure where I'm getting it from, but that's what I'm picking up in here, and it's making this musky white fragrance just a little bit interesting. So that's Musk K. And last but not least is one that I mentioned in my perfume tray, my last video. And this is Frederic Malle's collaboration with Acne Studios. And this is an aldehydic, musky, clean fragrance as well. But this one I would say is completely different from any of the ones that we have spoken about thus far. And I did mention that I was liking it, but I have to admit I'm not sure if this is a fragrance for me. So let's spray this. This is very, very aldehydic, very aldehydic. The first time that I tried this, I put my nose right up to my arm and I almost sneezed. Very, very aldehydic opening. It's sharp, You have to like that sort of thing in fragrance. And even though it is described as an aldehydic, musky, clean fragrance, I would say that this one has a lot going on. It's not as simplistic as Blanche. It's not as simplistic as Musk K or even the Van Cleef and Arpels Musc. It's not. This one has this peach skin accord, which is very, very prominent in this fragrance. And I think that's what I'm not really jiving with. I'm not sure what I think about that. So it's super aldehydic, and then you have this fruity component, and then there's something full-bodied and fluffy about the musk. So this is not super translucent, super transparent. The aldehydes are definitely giving a sparkling aspect to the fragrance, but for me, that's different from being translucent, transparent. So yes, it's sparkling, much more sparkling in terms of the aldehydes than Blanche. Definitely much more, but it's not a translucent, transparent, musky fragrance. That's clean laundry, yes, but not exactly. I would not put this in the category of a super simplistic, clean laundry fragrance. There's body to it, there's a fluffiness to it, and at the end of the day, that peach accord, to my nose, is giving something almost a little bit sour. It almost seems like stewed fruit. Fruits that are stewed are not obviously as sweet and crisp as they are when they're fresh. And even though peach is maybe not as sweet as something like a strawberry or cherries or other types of fruits, I do feel that it comes off a little bit sour and almost stewed in the fragrance. So I'm not sure what I think about this one. I have worn it a few times as my scent of the day, and I feel like that peach accord, together with the aldehydes and the musk, it gives me something sour, and I also get something a little bit sharp in the fragrance. So this one is not clean baby powder. This one is not super clean, out of the shower, fresh, clean. It's musky and aldehydic. And there's also, in the distant background, the violet-rose combination. If you pay very, very close attention to the fragrance, if you analyze it, in the backdrop, you might get a little bit of that violet/rose sort of powderiness, but it's the peach accord with a little bit of vanilla and the aldehydes that is what this fragrance is all about. So I'm not sure if this one is for me. I do have the 100 ml size bottle. It is cool looking. The color almost seems rainbow-like. So that is Acne Studios for Frederick Malle. Let me know in the comments if you guys are familiar with any of these fragrances and what you guys think. And as always, thank you so much for watching, your support, and your comments. Until next time, bye guys.